So today what I was thinking is that before we go deeper into the topic, I wanted to make this thing slightly interesting. After I spoke to Smita yesterday on neurosciences, I thought it would be good to add that flavor because that's how the brain chemistry works. So if somebody is good with chemistry and biology, other than physics, it's fine. Those who don't know any one of these three or any one of these three, you can listen and I'll try to make it as non-technical as possible. Okay, and then we'll see what happens when this comes, this happens. When this doesn't come, this doesn't happen. Even though Buddha doesn't use any of these medical terms or anything related to that, but it is more about neurochemistry, what we are learning in Buddha's teaching. And that's the reason it's very difficult for a normal person to understand. It's a psychology rather than you sit and meditate hours together on a cushion doing nothing about it because you are not able to handle a particular situation. It's meant for a situation handling. So bahuli is a word used to denote habit. Bahuli kata is to do, to kata is to do. So develop a habit. That means even though Buddha has not used the word default mode network, you need to understand there are certain conditioning which is already there in each one of us. So you have to uncondition the condition, and that in a way becomes nibbana, right? You are coming out of those conditions. It's very intuitive, but I doubt whether people can remove the religious connotation on Buddha's teaching and come out of it and stop relying on rituals. And that's the reason the Sotapatti stage is coming out of rituals. Why? Because it is psychology. It's just psychology. You understand psychology of every living being. There's a particular psychology of that person. So psyche means mind. Psychology is to understand the mind. It's not which cushion you want to take, whether it is made out of coir or made out of some cushion, soft, hard, blah, blah, blah. Maximum amount of money is made out of these cushions. So if you understand the psychology of business, you will never buy it. Anyway, now come to the psychology. So I'm talking from neurotransmitters, neurochemical, which gets produced based upon the thoughts. There is no English word for vitakka in a proper way. I can use deliberation, but again, it translates to thoughts or pondering over something, etc. So, excuse me for using thoughts because vitakka is not thought. Vichara is thought, but there is no proper word to explain what it is. So you have to take it with pinch of salt that when I say it is thought, it is not really any thought. Okay, so you have to basically find a different thing. It's more often deliberation. So we deliberate from the time in the womb to the time to the tomb. So it's journey from womb to tomb. Okay. Now we come to the first neurochemical, which is dopamine. Okay. This chemical is required for functioning. If you are functioning, it's dopamine which is making you function. Otherwise, you become dysfunctional person because there is no dopamine. It doesn't mean only reward system. It's basically required for everything. If you are functional, your kidney is functional, means it is producing good amount of dopamine to sustain your life. Okay? So don't get into a wrong notion. Some people say that dopamine shouldn't be there, like killing themselves. What it does is that it motivates, it having reward system, there's a wanting, there's a learning, also requires dopamine. That's what is chanda. Chanda mulaka avuso sabbe dhamma. Without dopamine, without serotonin, which we're going to come next, it's not possible to have interest. Okay, so if somebody is deprived of dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, and all that, what we're going to be talking, is in a mental asylum already. Okay, that means he's gone on the, he requires medical intervention. So when the dopamine is in excess production, the first thing that does is to crave, and it becomes novelty seeking. And there is many other things like risk taking, obsessions, and all that. OCDs relates to either more production or some changes in the dopamine structure, and hence obsessive compulsive disorder might take shape. It's not the only neurochemical that will change it, but majorly it has been found that this happens. If somebody is having obsessive, like washing hands every now and then and checking whether they have locked the key or etc. If it goes beyond a certain threshold, it means he is having excessive. Okay? So it requires medical intervention to reduce these attacks. Okay? What does the Buddha say? It's raga. So you have to apply asubha bhavana. Okay? Basically, dopamine excess creates raga. And what if it is less, low motivation to no motivation, dullness, and basic lack of purpose and interest? So here I need to check on myself, what's my goal? Most of us on Dhamma have no goal. That means you're deprived of dopamine. If there is no goal, no reward, right? So there's reward and recognition. There's nothing there. Meaning you will have pain. So the pain receptors will start because of no use. So basically, the person is seeking pain, dukkha. What does it happen? It takes him to attakila mata, yoga, dukkho, anariyo, anatta samhito. So be careful. If you don't have a goal, a purpose for why you're doing this Buddha Dhamma, it's like taking some chemicals and not knowing what to do with those chemicals. So please be aware. Otherwise, you'll start to hallucinate with dopamine deficiency. Be careful. So when somebody is getting visions and other things while they're doing closed eyes meditation, most of it is in hallucination. Why? Because he doesn't have a clear goal. What's the purpose? He just entered into some vipassana course and sitting there with his constipated way of doing things. He doesn't have a goal. What's the purpose? Sataka, sampajanya, first one. Second one, sapaya sampajanya. Is it worthy to do it? Is it worthy for me to sit on this cushion for 1 hour? Third one, gochara sampajanya, where the indriyas are going. And the fourth one, asammoha sampajanya, be coming out of delusion. If I don't have chanda, interest, then manasikara will not happen. So chanda mulaka avuso sabbe dhamma, manasikara sambhava sabbe dhamma. That means if you want to do something, there should be an attention to it. And attention will never happen because your neurochemical is not functioning. It is dysfunctional. On a dysfunctional chemical, nothing will work. Only thing that would work is depression. Okay? So be careful and visit a psychiatrist if you require medical intervention, or psychotherapist if you require someone who lacks interest in life or having suicidal tendencies, because that person's dopamine level is so low that he sees darkness. There's no reward. His chanda is gone, manasikara is not there. So manasikara sambhava sabbe dhamma. That's the second one. Then phassa samudaya sabbe dhamma. There should be contact. Even for sitting in meditation, you require contact. If there is no contact, there's nothing that can be accomplished. Vedana samosarana sabbe dhamma. Now you should get good piti and sukha, which is part of vedana. Many people reject the sukha and piti, thinking that they shouldn't. What a stupid way of doing things. I've heard people telling me they shouldn't have piti. What bullshit is that? I don't know what kind of people exist in this planet. So basically, if you don't have a proper neurochemical, you're literally deprived of life. So makes no sense, right? So you should know the purpose. So three things are a must before you start. Self-discipline. Yesterday I was talking for the Hindi people. I'm now saying the same thing in this group. First, self-discipline. If you want, you can make a note of it. Self-discipline gives you two things from Buddha Dhamma, Hiri and Ottappa. In fact, Ajahn Chah's book explains that, how Ajahn Mun helped Ajahn Chah not to memorize Patimokkha. In fact, I like forest tradition for that reason. There are only two things, Hiri and Ottappa. That's it. Hiri is moral dread and Ottappa is moral shame, and that's it. That's sufficient. You don't require Patimokkha. Now, for a layperson like me, what should be that? It's 10 immoral deeds. So my self-discipline is removal of 10 immoral deeds. That's it. There's nothing more than that. That will take care of the 5 sila also, if I'm working on 10 immoral deeds. And that's it. That's no need to do anything more. That's sufficient for my samadhi practice. So the first thing I am going to do is to have a clear-cut idea of what's my discipline. My discipline is removal of 10 immoral deeds, and that's it. That's my discipline. Hiri Ottappa are the 2 policemen who's going to look at whether I'm following that or not. I don't care if somebody is watching me, not watching me, whether I'm the teacher, no teacher, doesn't matter. I'm doing this because I require all of these neurochemicals, which I'm going to talk about. And the self-discipline ensures that these chemicals are not deprived in one way or not produced in excess in another way. Simple. So what do I do? Just have discipline. That's it. My discipline is not 237 Vinaya. My discipline is 10 immoral deeds. How am I convinced on that? Through Chakravarti Sutta. That's my Bible. I was in Abhasara. Today I'm here. I need to go back to Abhasara. That's the basic goal I have. In this life, I need to experience Abhasara. That's the goal. Straightforward goal. 10 immoral deeds, minusing it takes me there. Simple. So the second thing after discipline is to set a proper goal. Without the goal, no dopamine will get released, no serotonin, no oxytocin, no endorphin, no this, no that. It's a literal desert. So you're not getting anything out of it. No matter you sit for 10 hours or 100 hours or years together, burning your cushion like as though is somebody has asked you to constipate for all the 365 days in a year. Just do that, not knowing what's the thing you are wanting to do. So, chanda mulaka avuso sabbe dhamma, manasikara sambhava sabbe dhamma, passa samudaya sabbe dhamma, vedana samosarana sabbe dhamma. Then, samadhi. Samadhi pamukha sabbe dhamma is a forerunner. Sata adipateya sabbe dhamma. It will go until the vimukti sara. So if somebody doesn't know this, it's psychology of your own mind. And the mind will trigger the brain impulses. So if you are not motivated, you will never have that transmitters generating the chemical in a proper quantity. And without that, you are in dukkha. So as I was seeing Ashwin last year when he was here in this house, and that's what I asked him. What's your purpose? You want dukkha? Already you have. Abundant. You don't have to search for dukkha. So be careful on what you are treading. If it is going into Atta Kila Matanu Yoga, you can 100% guarantee yourself you will be depression. You'll see life like a clouded environment, like, dull. Now I come to the second neurochemical, which is serotonin. This is very much required for mood balancing. If the person is moody, his problem is serotonin, his or her problem. Especially triggers premenstrual, postmenstrual in women. So they are prone to these mood swings, including their period times. They have serotonin issues. But male also suffers from serotonin, especially when they are in bad mood. And they come to something called vipassana without understanding that they should be ready, and the teacher should be a psychologist to explain to this fellow why this experience is happening. And it's not about saying just watch the sensation. That's not real thing. Like what happened with Shreyas. So you need to understand where is the mood balance. Patience. Just by saying be patient is not going to do anything. It's a chemical. Bring the chemical, serotonin. You get patience. Feeling satiated, which Buddha calls Santosa, is brought by serotonin. If the person is serotonin deprived, from where does he become satiated? He will be eating carbs. So any person who is depressed will eat carbs, processed food, because serotonin makes him feel, deprivement of serotonin makes him feel something missing. So what does he do? He starts eating carbs. He feels more hungry. Buddha says Santosa, but here I am eating and eating and eating and eating. Why? Because serotonin is a problem. Impulsive. I'm an impulsive buyer. I just see, I want it. Serotonin. That's a problem. You address the serotonin problem, and this person will stop being impulsive. So it will create impulsive regulation. a proper quantity of them. Sleep cycle. Some people, like I've seen Ariu sleeping at 2 a.m. in the morning. So he's going to screw up his serotonin because the sleep hormone is created from serotonin. The more he deprives sleep, the worse he gets after he touches 40 plus, where it turns into insomnia. So you need to go at a proper time to sleep and wake up at a proper time. Don't play around with your neurochemicals. Once it goes on the other side, very hard to bring it back. And with old age, with aging, the serotonin drops by automatically. So it's pretty difficult condition because that it drops dopamine also along with it. So you will not be much charged to do anything. So if I am hyperactive is also a problem. If I am hypoactive is also a problem. In my case, personal case, I don't feel tired at all from morning till night, and I can be industrious. That means these neurochemicals are properly balanced. They're not going here, there, right? So when there is overactivity, the first thing is agitation, restlessness, udacha. If somebody is by nature udacha, you can 100% guarantee that person has excess amount of serotonin. Emotional blunting, that person goes hyper on emotions. Extreme excess of maladies, meaning he puts some weird experiences which looks like what is happening to this person. Not really hallucinating, but there are certain neural pathways which get opened up for him because of excess serotonin, okay, which can become compulsives, and he requires medical attention. Psychiatry is what is required. So he needs to take medicine for that. He shouldn't or she shouldn't actually ignore the symptoms. How do I know? Based upon the hyperactivity. Or on the lower side of it, mood swings, low moods, depressive thoughts, irritability, anxiety, impulsive, compulsive, repetition cycles. He repeats the same thing again and again and again, or she repeats the same thing again and again. Just take him to psychiatry. The person requires psychiatric care. There's no way he can apply Buddha Dhamma. Not a right candidate at all. He first needs to be on medication. Some regulation has to be there on the body because he has spoiled it. He spoiled his sleep cycle. That's it. Now his serotonin will go haywire because serotonin required for sleep hormone. And leptin, which is key for feeling satiated, is gone. So you will feel carb. You'll feed on carb. So if Buddha says Santosa, he's on the other side of it. Okay, we need to be careful. And these two are key chemicals which are there. And now we come to the third one, which is called GABA. That is really calming hormone or calming neurochemical, which will make the person not go hyper on any extremes. Hyper happy and hyper unhappy. Doesn't make go hyper. It's hyperventilation. Not going to do that. So GABA is calming. It calms the nervous system. So it brings in the balance between the parasympathetic nervous system and the sympathetic nervous system and ensures that that balance is met. It's biological as well as chemistry both together. So some people who are good with chemistry can understand how isotopes get formed and then how do you understand which chemical when added with what brings in what? So little bit of, if you are on chemical side of things, we can talk more on it. I doubt whether this group has anything to do with chemistry, but if you're really serious, I can take on chemistry side of it, how it works and how biology works on the chemicals. Okay. I don't think so I should go so detailed onto it, because GABA requires both biological as well as the chemical. I'm not going to talk about pharmacology because it is pharma. I'm not interested in the drugs and other things. But otherwise, I can talk about how these two have to be balanced. But anyway, everyone has GABA, so you will have a calming thing. But when it is relatively excess, dullness, thinner is the fact. Sluggish person, sloth. What he has to do today, he will procrastinate it for sure. Second thing, sleepiness. The problem is GABA. Not the GABA as a Brisbane cricket stadium, but GABA as in this. And alertness being low. So if you give him to drive a car, he is confused or she is confused. Actually, the sugar level little bit drop, and then that is glucose, and that creates dullness, lethargy, and this alertness not being there. And that is done by GABA. Okay. So he feels sedated all the time. And when it is deprived, if somebody is anxiety oriented, like my father and mother, that's the problem. They were never treated by psychiatry. They should have been taken to psychiatric care, given some nice drugs to ensure that this condition is dropped. It's genetic as well. So I have had anxiety attacks, but I've crossed it over through a lot of things. So not through medication, but through meditation. But yes, it helps in removing anxiety, especially for those people who deprive sleep, insomnia, age 40, and insomnia go together. Okay. Be careful by playing with your sleep hormone. You're going to change your sleep cycles. And once your sleep cycle changes, your blood pressure changes. And then everything goes for a toss. So sleep well, rested, rather than feeling that I should not be sleeping. And somebody in our group was asking, when will I stop sleeping? Ridiculous. You require sleep. But if you're mentally relaxed, that's actual sleep. It is rest and digest, which is parasympathetic nervous system. So if we have parasympathetic nervous system, how do you know it is working? Just check your watch. And if you're having beats per minute less than 60, not a tachycardia, bradycardia kind of a situation, neither a tachycardia. Tachycardia means fast paced beats per minute, and bradycardia means slow beat rates. But you have an athletic heart, which doesn't take too much of energy to pump the blood, then you are a best candidate that you don't have this any one of these what I'm talking about. You'll come to see. So sleep well, eat well, meditate well on Dhamma. Okay. But be careful in not harming your physical thing, because everything is chemical driven. So a person will get into agitation, lot of impulsive reactions, inability to pause, inability to comprehend. This is the worst thing of losing GABA. You will not be able to comprehend. That means cognition itself will have an issue. Wrong cognitions. So need to be careful. Especially when you go to a retreat, you need to know that whether your neurotransmitters are properly tuned and the chemicals are properly firing. So actually, every meditation retreat person that center should have a psychiatry or a psychology person or a psychotherapist, actually, because you're working on psyche, mind. So not having anyone to take care is dangerous. Just asking him, look at the sensation, you don't know what is happening on these chemicals. What sensation are you talking about? When the chemical itself is changing so drastically. So I don't understand how people can talk like that. But anyway, I thought we need to bring this here. Like we need to understand why, how things are working or not working. So mental state that can be seen is restlessness, panic, overreaction. So when we say I'm having a pain here and some teacher tells me just keep scanning, it's terribly paining here. What am I doing? I'm creating more restlessness by not addressing this pain. By nature, the chemical changes. So this pain is replaced to pain here. And that gives me a false information that the pain receptors, which showed here, is now a receptor here. Not able to understand it's the brain which is making it, because now when I am becoming aware, manasikara, attention is coming here, it shows up there. But what is my teacher saying? Just ignore it. Now question comes, why? Why should I ignore it? It's physical pain. Buddha always talks about mental, not physical. And these sessions talks about physical, not mental. What a strange contrast of things. And that affects GABA. These things affect GABA. So when I come to a middle age of 40s to 60s, I will have tremendous issues. Okay, and then it creates fear. The lesser the GABA, the more the fear. So what did I gain? I lost dopamine, serotonin, GABA. Now the fourth chemical, which is as important as dopamine, is glutamate. It's an excitatory chemical. It excites and it helps in retaining memory. And the painful memories are retained fast so that it can take care in the future. So basically, it then creates alertness. That means adrenaline will start working more and more. So I need to play well with glutamate, ensuring it doesn't fire too much. So the neurons will go haywire with this guy. Okay. Now, if I'm on obsessive loop, that means I want to book one retreat, the next retreat, and the next retreat, and the next retreat. It's perfect person where it is glutamate is excess. Because the raga is not able to be controlled at all. So it becomes like an obsession. And that obsession creates agitation, all the time, cannot see anything, because that person is excited, is always on alert, the red alert. The alarms are ringing. So what it does is it tries to balance. And when it tries to balance, it goes into deprived mode. And when it's deprived, cognitive dullness and poor learning. And that person will say everything is theory and this is practice, which shouldn't be the case. It is Suttamaya, Chintamaya, Bhavanamaya, all the three. So he will take whatever it is and then he'll try to figure it out, saying that this is what it is, because his capacity, that is the dopamine, serotonin, GABA, is so low that glutamate exceeds. So he can't understand anything. So the clarity of thoughts and clarity of action is gone. And that's the reason we need to set a goal, because we can see whether that is missed already. If it is missed, then there's no point. Like if my goal is Sotapanna, it's already missed. If my goal is Sakadagami, it's already missed, because this chemical will not allow me to reach the goal. So what happens? Papancha. What Buddha talks is exactly here. The mental state is full of papancha. It keeps on proliferating one after the other and repeats the story again and again. Okay? So proliferation has to stop, means glutamate has to be in a proper shape. Otherwise, it doesn't work. Again, it depends on whether you require psychotherapy for this person or a psychiatric care for that person. Depends on the other chemicals which are bound by it. So somebody knowing molecular physics and some chemistry could understand how this whole thing works, and it can take care of the biological need. Those are three things: physics, chemistry, biology, PCB. It's very important. Okay. Now, there's another chemical that is adrenaline inducive chemical, which can create thought patterns, which are sometimes good, sometimes not so good. So the first chemical I'm going to talk on this category is, it's a very hard to spell. It's norepinephrine. Okay. So I will read it out. Norepinephrine. Okay. So norepinephrine. And that is hypervigilance. Its job is to be vigilant, because it's always alertness, and takes care of stress parameters, stress response, keeps the person ready for fight and flight. That means if the person is on a sympathetic nervous system, because he has to be there on sympathetic as well, he has to be defensive. He becomes defensive. But this is required for alertness very much. So you can't remove that chemical. And that is what presses the adrenaline, immediately become alert. And this is required for first four jhanas, because you require alertness. So satova asasati, satova pasasati, that means the first four of the anapanasati, kayanupassana, you require this. If this neurotransmitter is not there, you will never be alert at all to understand how the breath is coming, how the breath is going, because he doesn't have alertness. Okay. So basically, it helps in remembering, being vigilant, not creating any immoral. So when we say this hiri ottappa, this is triggering that. Okay, so there's vigilance, always vigilant. Now what happens? So satova asasati, satova pasasati. I know there's asapassa, meaning this neurochemical is helping in knowing that. Dhigam va asasanto asasamiti pajanati, rasam va asasanto asasamiti pajanati. Sabbakaya pati samvedi, asasisamiti sikkati, sabbakaya pati samvedi, pasasisamiti sikkati. Till this guy is required. And after this, GABA takes over. So passambayam kaya sankharan, asasi samiti sikkati, passambayam kaya sankharan, pasasi samiti sikkati. And hence Buddha uses for all of them sikkati, to learn. And what is that for learning? GABA and glutamate and serotonin. Just imagine if you don't have any one of these, what would happen to your learning ability? Nothing works. Okay, so basically, I need to see whether I have enough of this. Otherwise, I need to seek medical intervention or psychotherapy or psychology. So, if in overactive state, this hypervigilance creates anger, dvesha, because it's always alert. If something is too alert and having adrenaline rush, so it should create anger. Obviously, there would be anger, fear, panic, urgency to address. You can't wait. You cannot wait. So this person requires attention because he's looking at defensive mechanism for an upcoming threat. So when it is underactive, fatigue and poor focus and low alertness, confusion, chaos, panic, everything will start with that person. So very dangerous to play with this if it goes like this. Now, based upon that is adrenaline. It's meant for emergencies because it's fight and flight response. Most of us during the day, we are on sympathetic nervous system. They're not on parasympathetic. Means you're always on a fight mode. Fighting for survival. That means amygdala is getting overcharged the time. Because amygdala, which is a part of the brain, its job is to create alertness, focus. So it takes in more energy to maintain amygdala. That means your prefrontal cortex is rarely used. You're just starving yourself to death because you feel there's some threat. Something is going to happen. Something is going to happen. Something is going to happen. As far as that something is going to happen is going to concern, whether you are in a meditation class or you are in war, they both look the same. You're fighting. That's a fight and flight, right? You're fighting. There's no animal there to fight. You're fighting with yourself, which is what is Attakila Matanu Yoga. You start fighting with it. That's exactly what Buddha did for 6 years. He thought that is going to lead him to liberation. He found no. On the contrary, it is worse than Kama Sukhalakano Yoga. So the two extremes, dve me bhikkave ubho ante. So this two is where we are all the time. We are not in the Majjhima Patipada Tathagatena Abhisambuddha. We might be reading it, but really we are not in middle. Because you need to balance these hormones, or call hormones, chemical, whatever you want to call that. But you need to balance it. If adrenaline goes out of balance, you had it. So panic attacks, like my father used to have panic attack because his adrenaline used to go overcharged because of anxiety. And we are family of anxiety people. So shaking, my father used to shake, shaking, sweating, heart racing, aggressive behaviors. My father had an episodes of aggressive behaviors all the time, and nobody taught him chitta bhavana. Maybe we could have sent him to Vipassana course and that wouldn't do anything to him because it is complete rewiring of the brain or the network, so to say. We need to know Bahuli Kata habit. Make this as a habit, not the other one. Make this as your habit. This means Dhamma as your habit. Then you can watch what is coming, what is going, what is coming, what is going, and then no reaction. Then the calming happens because you are on parasympathetic nervous system, then the sympathetic nervous system. That's how the balance works. Okay. So basically it's low energy happens, fatigue happens, and everything looks as a challenge because of underactivity. Because overactivity is underactivity. So some people will feel everything emotional, everything is challenging. Everything from morning till evening, they're always on a challenging state. They feel challenged. They feel challenged. So the mental state would always look emotional hijack and panic attacks. Okay. So there are many more chemicals, so I will skip one or two of it, and because I made a list of them, looking from neuroscience and trying to see what affects from Dhamma perspective. So there's another one for memory, learning, parasympathetic, vagal pathways, and all that, and that is a huge subject by itself on vagus nerves. How does that work? And maybe I'll take it some other day. But I'll skip that and come to oxytocin because that is most important for bonding. That means you feel secure when you're bonded, trusted, and social safety is provided. So you follow a herd because you feel safe. You create a tribe because you feel safe. You create a nationality because you feel safe. You create a state because it's safe. You create a family because there is safety. And that safety is provided by oxytocin. Okay? Because there is caregiving. It takes two parts. One, you care, another person also cares. So basically, that's what it does. But it has a problem. Too much secretion of oxytocin creates possessiveness. That means if I want to be a Sakadagami, I need to come out of possession. To come out of possession, I need to have a balanced oxytocin. And because it creates emotional dependence on something, it can be anything, including VRI, is an emotional possession. It's a dependence and takes bias. What I know is the only truth that everybody else is know. And clinging to one person, if it is a cultish, it's 100% oxytocin related issue. That person start believing in cult. He will exactly do what his teacher is doing and becomes cultish. And that problem surfaces because overproduction of oxytocin. And then if it is deprived, it's loneliness and low trust and social disconnection. There's no social. He becomes totally rigid and morbid and all kind of thing and cannot talk to any social. He cannot socialize basically. It's not a good thing if he's not able to socialize. It's because he doesn't have oxytocin or she doesn't have oxytocin. And if they are making tribes, that's again a problem with oxytocin. Meaning, I will only stick with these people, I cannot stick with those people. I have this, I have my this one and that one, and all that comes means he's not even not only he's far from Dhamma, he's also far from what's happening in his brain. He requires psychiatric care. He or she requires an intervention because the other also would be weaker. All the other neurotransmitters or neurochemicals have strong firing. Okay, so it's a mixed bag, I could say, on oxytocin because it includes all the other chemicals. There's basically dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, and endorphins are considered as happy hormones because it truly makes you happy. Any changes in that, it's going to be really worse, right? So you need to be careful that whether something is taking you to nibbana or something is taking you away from nibbana in the name of Buddha Dhamma. And all of these chemicals should be in a proper state for you to really experience what you want to experience, right? And then we get into opioids, body produces by itself, which is endorphins. Very great hormone, especially for a pregnant woman. Those who have not become pregnant for whatever reason, they might not experience this. But those who are lucky to be pregnant or impregnant know that they can tolerate any amount of pain. That's done by endorphins. It's a natural pain relief. The pain is replaced by pleasure. Like the childbirth is painful, but the mother feels euphoric of the child coming out. And that's done by endorphins. It removes stress. And this is one neurochemical that is required for sitting meditation, standing meditation, and walking meditation. If endorphin is not there, because the dopamine is not there, serotonin, oxytocin, GABA, and all of this, glutamate, you had it. You feel tired. So it's not working. The excess creates indulgence. It seeks to increase ego because you can maintain, I can sit for 8 hours, 10 hours. Those kind of unnecessary things then becomes addiction by itself because you can tolerate any amount of pain. So the person feels that he is able to take on pain, but he's not able to understand it's not he who is doing it, it is a chemical which is doing it. So he becomes emotionally numb because he can take pain and becomes pleasure dependent. Now he's at the highest of the raga. What made the raga possible? Dopamine was supposed to create raga. No, because excess production of endorphins fueled the dopamine. So then it is excess. So he becomes one side lethargic, another side hyperactive. And one of the side effect of this is hypersexuality, because it changed all the chemical combinations. So he gets hyper onto sex, means he requires or she requires sex all the time, because that's one part which can take highest amount of pain. So they start exploring their body. Okay. Now, this one, endorphins, alone cannot be repaired. It has to be repaired with all other chemicals together. So, because it's a pain chemical. Now, on the deprived side of it is low pain tolerance, cannot handle any stress, and always complaining. If somebody is complaining about, today is Saturday, oh, today is Friday, looks rainy, too sunny, endorphin is a problem. So if you get hold of some complaining people, either you run away or you know that the person has low endorphins. So you require psychiatric care, that person. First put all of this into action and then we talk Buddha Dhamma, actually. And then the next hormone is cortisol, or the next neurochemical that gets released in huge quantity. If in stress, if always on sympathetic nervous system is cortisol. It's a stress hormone survival mechanism and glucose regulation. Guess what? If you keep on playing with cortisol, the metabolism will go for a toss. So the person is in chronic stress, worry, irritable, and always in fear. And the worst part of cortisol is that person feels somebody is up to do something to him or her. He's always on the run. Okay. So if less in quantity, then cannot handle any stress at all. He'll commit suicide. And suicidal thoughts will start when cortisol is not secreted in proper quantity. And crazy thoughts will start when the person is having high cortisol. And this stress hormone or a stress neurochemical is required for survival. Amygdala again takes charge of this. When you're in stress, believe it that it's amygdala which is doing it for you, making sure you're surviving. Cortisol is what it secretes. So if you want good meditation, don't allow cortisol to come. Otherwise, you require medication instead of meditation. Then the male hormone, testosterone, energy dominance is by testosterone, and muscle building support. Means brain itself is like a muscle and the body is anyway muscle. So you require both of them to strengthen, be a female or a male. They both have testosterone. But there's one problem with this testosterone in male is that it increases sexual drive or libido and aggressive tendencies and risk-taking ability if in excess. And that causes impatience. Cannot be having patience at all. And it is also linked to hair loss. So I don't know whether I have a real high testosterone level, maybe. And if not there, then low libido, that means no interest for sex and fatigue and low confidence, etc. Okay, and Now we have another nice chemical, which is like LSD and all that. The body itself produces it, endocannabinoids. It helps in relaxation, pleasure, and pain moderation, and buffering of stress. As soon as the stress comes, these receptors get charged up and release the stress. But when it is excess, it creates comfort seeking, overeating, escapism, and all that, apart from feeling sluggish, lethargic, and all that. And on the other side, it's always anxiety driven. Okay, so these are some of the key neurochemicals. There are many more. I could put another 20 list of items looking at the 16 steps of Anapanasati, which we are going to take up afterwards, and also looking at 6 things which Buddha talks in the same sutta about metta, karuna, mudita, upekha, like that, which we will be doing it. But I thought, let me introduce you this so that you understand what brings in what and how you should take care. Since you are handling mind, which is what triggers the brain impulses, you need to know what chemical get released when this happens. It's not about fighting, it's about understanding. The more you fight your on sympathetic nervous system, which literally kills you. And if you're on not on the sympathetic nervous system, then you're fine. Okay, so you have to tread this path very carefully. You can't be always on parasympathetic. That then I will be on parasympathetic. No, you require sympathetic. Because it's a survival-based mechanism. So you can't say, I don't want to survive. Then the chanda is gone. Be careful in what you think. Chanda mulaka avuso sabbi dhamma. So you have to have chanda. You're replacing the kama chanda with chanda iddhipada. You understand? You require chanda. So don't go on a other drive, which is attakila matanu yoga. Okay, so you require chanda. It means you require dopamine. Simple. And if somebody fights with dopamine, it's like he's killing himself to death. Never do that. Because you need to know the purpose. The purpose is what? Purpose is happiness. Right? Nibbanam paramam sukham. Please remember. It's not Nibbanam paramam dukkham. But on top of that, you want to be in dukkha, please go ahead. You can play along with these neurochemicals and get yourself in trouble. And wish I had taken neurosciences like my son, and I could have become a psychiatrist. I would have earned good amount of money with these vipassana people. The more they go into vipassana, the better it is for me. I could have a psychiatry ward because they are playing with neurochemicals, which they don't know. And that's the reason Buddha says, without hassa, without contact, can any one of these happen? No. The disturbance happens because of contact. Because the feelings, the core thing, emotions, feelings, is triggered by these neurochemicals. You see what you see because of neurochemical. So if you're already charged up, you'll see something different than what the actual reality is. And hence, you get into trouble. Being with excess or deprived, both are the problem. One takes you to Attakila Matano Yoga, another one takes you to Kama Sukhalakana Yoga. So to be a proficient in Buddha Dhamma, you need to know the wirings of the brain, first thing. And in neurosciences as well as medical, especially neurons that fire together, wire together. Okay. So if these set of neurons are firing, they wire. Once they wire together, you created a network. That becomes your default. So now you are going to do exactly the same thing. That's the reason it's called habitual pattern. You're exactly going to do that. When this triggers, this will happen. When this doesn't trigger, it will not happen. Now you have to forcefully change that network, which requires a lot of glucose. The glucose is consumed by brain more than anybody else. So be careful in which neurotransmitter is behaving improperly. You lose your energy. So all that what you eat is consumed by brain, if you didn't know that. It is said that it's closer to a 60-watt bulb, the amount of energy what is being used by one organ, which is brain. It regulates everything from temperature to name it, brain does it. Okay? So it's improper to not recognize the chemical bonding of your own brain. It's not what you think, it's what chemicals get generated because you are a chemical. That's it. So each person we are seeing is just chemicals. Nothing else is. And that chemical, in the language of the Buddha, is Patavi, Apo, Tejo, Vayu, which takes space. So now coming to law of thermodynamics, when atoms come together, they form pairs. They're held into motion by energy. But there is space between atoms. This is what Buddha talks about, akasa. Under that comes Vayu. Under Vayu comes Tejo. Under Tejo comes Apo. Under Apo comes Patvi. Together, these form the building block of what I call as this body. Right? If they have to sit tight, some chemical combination has to be working. That means the molecules should work in a fashion which holds the atom together. If I don't know the atomic structure, what's the point? So I need to know chemistry. And how they are together, I need to know physics. And how life evolves in this, I need to know biology. And how they are logically sequenced, I need to know mathematics. If I don't know PCMB, I'll come to religion, which is a stupid way of doing things. Because now I put God on one side or random on the other side. Or I put the third dimension called karma. And Buddha disagrees with all the three of them, which is perfect. So no other scientist is there than Buddha because he literally unearthed what Now the scientists are finding, which is true, this is exactly how it works. And hence it's quantum. It's not single, it's quanta, it's multiple. So basically, not knowing physics, chemistry, mathematics, and biology is no brainer. That means we lost the chance. It's very important to know, especially isotopes. We would have studied in the high school, just missed it there. You should know what's the difference between diamond and graphite. They both have the same chemical combination. The functionality is different. So somebody talks about organic chemistry, it's all about carbon, nothing else. If somebody says, I'm eating organic food, it's carbon. What the hell are you talking? Why do you go and buy a carbon packet when it is carbon? It's chemistry. If somebody says this doesn't have chemicals, what's stupid? The whole body is chemical. What do you mean this packet doesn't have chemical? What a way to sell, right? It's a marketing gimmick. Your whole body is chemical. What more chemical you require? All the neurons which are firing, these are the chemicals. They are the chemicals. What else? This whole body is chemical body. It's a chemical factory. Mitochondria, which is the cells, how it eats proteins, is chemical. It smells through chemicals. The DNA itself is chemical. What are you talking about? So I think we need to know that it's only chemical combinations that make up as you, and hence anatta. There's no atta. What do you mean? The dopamine is you, serotonin is you, oxytocin is you, GABA is you, cortisol is you, testosterone is you, estrogen is you. I mean, that's why it's laughable that when somebody says, it's me, which me? Dopamine me, endorphin me, serotonin me, all that is me only, right? And that's not me. Because your reaction to the environment is driven by chemicals. So the only way you have to come out of it is anatta, no self. There's no self in that. And it's anicca because these chemicals arise and pass away based upon the conditions. The condition is stressful, cortisol comes. The condition is not stressful, the cortisol doesn't come. Simple. And when cortisol comes, the heartbeat will pace. Heart will pace. That's given. Adrenaline rush makes the heart to pace. What are you able to do? Nothing. You have to take an anti-anxiety tablet. That's the best thing to happen. And what does it do? It leaves the chemical. So the receptor which was holding on to it now releases that. So there's calming of nerves. And no, not nerves and nerves. It's a receptors in the brain. They let go of that network. So the synapses don't happen. So the information is removed from there. So it is relaxation. So anicca, dukkha, anatta, if I take these neurotransmitters as me and mine, it's stupidity. So atita, anagata, pachuppanna, past, present, or future and present. Ajjatta, bahidda, it's only neurochemicals. All humans, all animals, all birds, all insects, everyone has a brain. It does what it should do based upon the mind, which gives information to it, and it executes. So, what are you changing is the thought process, the vitakka. And hence Buddha talks about Dveda Vitak Sutta, MN19, two kinds of deliberation. One which will take you to this stress, another which takes you out of stress. Apply it. Okay, that's it. I had any questions on this? I hope it was interesting or boring. I don't know which side it went. Maybe some people would have slept by this serotonin and oxytocin and all this kind of words. Yes, Ashwin, you need to go. Okay, bye bye. Dopamine, adrenaline. Okay, carry on. Wow, good. No questions. Either you misunderstood completely or over understood it or understood it. Nice.
Lastly, it was really interesting, very interesting.
Yeah, I think you would be the only person saying interesting because you're from that field.
I think everyone might have found it very interesting. I can show you a chart which is like, I don't know if people can see this
Yes,
chart.
yes. Autonomic
So
ladder.
yeah, autonomic nervous system. So I'm just saying a little bit what you explained. So this really helps many people understand the symptoms, because I don't use the uh, chemicals, neurochemicals, etc. Just like the symptoms. If they have the access to frontal cortex is gone or it's offline, they drop into sympathetic, that's fight and flight zone. Means there is a threat out there, and either they have to fight or they have to fly. And if even fight and flight seems too much, then sympathetic also goes offline. Then they drop into dorsal, which is all of that.
Yeah.
Depressive. Yeah.
Yeah, once it goes to dorsal, actually you put a dorsal person into Vipassana. You see after 10 days, that person is drained completely, helpless and hopeless condition. All that he requires is psychiatric or a psychology or psychotherapist counseling. He's a wrong candidate for Vipassana. So I don't know why people go in that great numbers not knowing what happens to their chemicals. And nobody is even interviewing them at what is the state of his mind. And the assistant teacher, whoever is assistant, should be a neuroscience person, not some are-gere, meaning some good for nothing. It's weird. I don't know. And just taking a declaration that anything happening, medical happening, or some death happening, we are not responsible, doesn't absolve them from the sin they are doing. Absolutely sinful. Absolutely sinful.
There are so many horror stories I have heard.
Yes, I have seen. And like with my student itself, I've seen, and that guy would have died. And that assistant teacher has an atrocity saying they let him die. What if his son was dying, would he be sitting there and licking his thumb? What a kind of, first of all, we need to be human more than anything else. I was so surprised with this assistant teacher. I just wanted to tell him, first be human. It don't give me anything else. I don't care whether you're following SN Goenka or this Goenka. I don't care. First be human. Be human. Because getting a human life is such a rarest of the thing. And you're talking another human, what would have happened? You would have died. What kind of person are you? They should have qualified people to run this kind of things. Anyway, because they're playing with neurotransmitters. If they really don't know, like people coming here, now I'm observing, they have their own mental blocks. I can understand their psychology, so I'm able to tell them what to do. 4 5 people, like when Smita was here, there are other ladies we've been telling them shouldn't talk, shouldn't do this, shouldn't do that, and they keep on engaging it. Why? Because it's psychology. They have a different psychology. What makes them do that? One of these chemicals are going to make them do what they're doing, because they lack motivation. They lack the purpose. If somebody comes into this meditation home of mine without a purpose, it's of waste for them and for me, because they don't have the purpose. They don't have self-discipline. So, in fact, I spoke on that day when Smita was there, saying that 3 things you need to have. 1, self-discipline. 2, you need to have the purpose for why you are here. And 3, it should represent in your behavioral changes. Because that's exactly what this chemical does. It changes your behavior, your thought processes. Basically, I need to have these 3 things. And then no arrogance and no stubbornness. And many people who were there, they are stubborn and they are having this compulsiveness. That is, stubbornness makes them compulsive. And 2, they have arrogance. So when these 2 chemicals, arrogance and stubbornness, takes over, you can imagine the calamity that is going to bring in. And they start imagining 100 different things. I didn't want to go there. I said, you're getting this? Okay, good. But that's not how it is. It should be like this. That's it. I didn't go deeper into their psychology because they require psychology care. So we require, what I see after doing 5 of these retreats, I find we require psychotherapist. At least one psychotherapist should be their resident, who will take their interview, find out their pattern, and then introduce Buddha Dhamma to the way, the level it should be, than just doing some funny things. Very dangerous.
Yeah. I feel that many people have untreated trauma.
Yes.
That keeps like pulling them into that loop when they do meditation or try to do dhamma or try to understand. So it's really important to deal that first before.
Yes, the
Yeah.
trauma, especially the trauma thing, has to be fixed fast before they come into these sessions. Because if there's nobody there to address their traumas, then it becomes, they become totally helpless. And they start crying, they start showing their anger or whatever it is. And if it's untreated, it becomes very difficult for them or for others.
Exactly.
Because so many of these chemicals are misfiring, and then literally it will take a person off completely. And
Sorry.
yeah, go ahead, Neeru. Let her finish, and then Smita, you can talk. Yeah, go ahead.
So just I was saying, like sometimes when trauma gets triggered in the exercise, in the process of doing dhamma, attack mode starts. The attack mode gets activated.
Correct.
And either they would start attacking themselves or project that onto
Yes,
others.
exactly.
Yeah.
To the other person.
Yeah.
Correct. Yes, Smita.
Sir, thank you very much. It was very interesting to listen, very systematically. And I think if you remember in one of the class, I talked about my father was a Parkinson patient. And whenever we used to take it to the neurosurgeon, in fact, used to treat him. And whatever you explained, I was trying to, remember that how he explained when we did the first session, that how Parkinson's or Alzheimer works. So I could relate with my father's behavior, body, and the drugs which doctor used to offer to him. So thank you very much.
Sure. Okay, now I will just show you something. Maybe it might be interesting to you. I think I've shown it earlier, but let me see. Even if I'd shown it earlier, I can show something. Yeah. One second, not showing up. Able to see my screen, but only that window, or I don't know. I want to share a PDF, but it's not showing up here. I think I have to make it.
That was some fine print.
It was there? It was showing?
Yes, some fine print. Yeah, that was there.
I mean, did you see the PDF? No. No, right?
I didn't read anything. It was just.
It is like the name of the files, that's what
Okay. That was seen, right? So 1 minute. It is not allowing me to. See, when I show window, it is not showing that particular file. Wait a second. I think I know how to do that. Now I think it should. I don't know. Something strange. Showing. Able to see? Okay. See, now this is, we are done. 5 minutes. So if I take this is the neurohumoral changes. So this is able to see?
It's very small, actually.
Yeah. I'm just trying to zoom in. It's big now? Coming? Not much?
Yes.
maybe you can, and everybody can pin that screen, so maybe it will come bigger. If it is coming on the small screen, we can pin it.
1 minute.
No, like not you, like maybe the users.
No. Wait, let me see if I can do this. Okay, I can do one thing later. Maybe tomorrow I can show this by putting it on a page and showing it. I think that's better on a web page rather than here. It's basically, I had done in meditation, they had checked my brain and how it works and all that. So there is humoral changes. That is how the emotional state, that is psycho emotional state. Let me see if I can take this stuff and copy it in the chat, if that can come there. Oh, no, it doesn't take. Anyway, so basically, what is another way of doing it? Let me see. Is there any better way?
It sounds like something very interesting, Vilasji. Did you do some brain mapping or?
Yes,
how you...
I did. Wait a second. So let me see if I can share this. this window. Able to see better?
It's much better. Yes.
So this is the psycho-emotional state. So this is how the brain mapping they did to see that how my brain is in meditation. So it is showing max 98. And they wanted make it 100. So after a few months, I went to the same center to show it, and it got spoiled because of my anticipation. So I'll show you that. You see this? It came down to 65 because of anticipation. It's not bad, but it's not good like what you saw here. Okay, so a little bit of change in anticipation reduces your psycho-emotional state. A little bit. And I will also show you the energy resources, which I was talking about in the energy pyramid. So this is my energy pyramid. I have more resources than the expenditure in here, what I'm showing. Okay. And when I was having anticipation, expectation, you see how it got depleted. Show you. It got depleted like this. So I had 257, 448 as opposed to 204. That was the best, the first session what I had. Okay, and the second session, it reduced because of too much of activity, brain activity. And I will also show you the physical state. That is the level of adaptation in terms of fatigue and other things. This is the thing what I have. So my psychophysical state is like this. It's 99%. And when I had anticipation of an outcome in meditation that I will be doing very well this time, that became like this, 60%. Okay. So I had my brain checking done in meditation. Now that my son is in Nimans, maybe I can try to do it again. This was in 2019, now we're in 2026. So I can get my brain scan done on how these neurotransmitters and how the adaptation is and how everything works. And another thing I can show you is the nice one is this. One second, I'll just show you.
And Vilasji, can you talk a little bit about that anticipation, like what was happening actually?
Anticipation is that I was given that I had to make it 100%. It was the total overall score I got was 90. I'll just show you. Wait a second. So that you'll come to see what created an anticipation. So I'll show you two graphs, and then that will be good to see. Is again, I'll share the screen. See in this one, my actual age at that time was 47 and biological age was 30. because of the adaptation. So they were telling me, why don't you bring it to 20? Because you can do it. You've done it. Because nobody had done with so many patients, they had not seen something like this. So they were saying that, please do, please try. So because my functional state indices, if you see here, adaptation level 99, vegetative regulation 96, neurohumoral regulation 97, psycho-emotional state 98. That means the resource utilization is far less. I mean, I have abundance of resources. So the question was, can you make all of this 100? So I sat in meditation, and the anticipation created a problem. So you see here, when there is brain activity of anticipation, so the chemicals will undergo change, right? And then the dopamine, and they get over secreted or under secreted. If you see here, it was after some time when I went, I was 47-year-old when I did the first time. And in second time when I did, I was 48-year-old. And then the biological age increased from 30 to 40. And then um, this happened. I'll show you the adaptation level. It's worse. You see here, 60%. Vegetative regulation 79, neurohumoral 67, psycho-emotional state 55. So, and that's a problem of anticipation. So when I did the first time, there was no anticipation. Just like you go to Vipassana course and you first time you get good one, and then you anticipate that you will do better this time, and this is how you get screwed up in by anticipating, because that changes the neural pathway and it takes more resources than otherwise. So I lost more than what I'd gained. The only factor was I took 100%, meaning saying that I need to achieve 100, which is exactly what Buddha says you shouldn't have. That means anicca nature is the ability to see that it arising and passing away, and it is uncertain. You can't be certain. But even knowing that in 2019, knowing that I've reached Sotapanna and all that, it didn't allow me to not anticipate. So I had anticipation that, yeah, I will do better. Only that word I had, I'll do better. And that was sufficient to spoil it.
So was that some kind of tanha?
Yes, craving to make it 100. Because they were so appreciative that so many meditators who have done, they couldn't score more than 70. And here is one person who has crossed 98. It's surprising. It was surprising to them that, what do you really do? And I was just closing my eyes and doing it. There's nothing else I did. Just 10 minutes scanning of the brain. And then said, okay, so just close your eyes, watch your breath, and while we connect and see. Okay. So total test was 15 minutes, 10 minutes activity, exactly 10 timed minutes activity, including ECG. So how your thing is going. So basically, I found that the first time when I did, I never was interested. That director was saying, why don't you do in our institute? I said, okay, do it, not an issue. We just started chatting on meditation and all that. He said, why don't you do it? I said, yeah, okay, we'll try. But he was shocked that so many people who come and do can't cross 70, who are long meditators. That means sitting meditation guys on Vipassana or whatever they use, all are 99% of them are Buddhist, come there and they found that they have crossed 70, 72, 75. Another person was 83. And when I saw him in 98, he said, surprising, how do you do this? Okay, you see, bye. So basically that was it on that. And then they said, I went after a long 6 months or gap. I didn't go. He said, take rest, don't come now, come after some time, and then we will do it again. We'll do the test again. So they just gave me, before going there, they said, why don't you achieve 100% mark? You can do it. And that's it. Okay, so that's it then. Hope it was interesting to others, not about Neeru. Neeru would be definitely be interested because she's from the same field. And Smita ji, you had a long chat yesterday on DMN and all this. Hope your interest got answered, or I could explain to you how it works. Okay. Any questions? Anyone? No questions? Then we'll end for today. Thank you very much.
This was really very interesting, Vilasji, and maybe one day you will take that chemistry part as well that you left today.
Okay, you want chemistry? Okay, fine.
Uh, as much as I will be able to understand, I hope everyone would like to hear.
I don't mind physics, chemistry, and biology and mathematics. Go through that and see how it really works. We need to know biology. Basically, we need to know good amount of biology and good amount of chemistry. That because this whole thing is chemical. The entire body is chemical. There's not even one thing which is non-chemical. In fact, the scent through which we identify children is itself chemical. The mother identifies the baby by its scent. The child understands the mother by its scent. It is so ingrained on that. Olfactory is from where it all starts. So the mother, if you change the mother, the child cries. The child cries because of the smell. The body smell of this mother is different than the body smell of the other one. And the heat temperature, that is the temperature at which the mother is with the child is totally different from the temperature of the another woman who is carrying that baby. So the baby knows that this is not my area. So it starts firing neurochemicals to get rid of this fear. And the only thing it can do is to cry. So when it cries, they give it back to the mother. And the mother, when she puts it here, the baby knows, oh, I'm back in my home. And that's chemistry. So there's a chemistry between mother and the child. That's a chemistry. It's a pure chemistry, not just organic chemistry or inorganic chemistry. Pure chemistry. Just chemical combinations between the mother and the child. So what Buddha is saying, Mata yata niyam puttam ayusa eka puttam anurakhi evampi sabba bhuteshu mana sambhavayi aparimanam. So you treat just like how the mother, she puts the baby and takes like this. Why don't you do with all beings? Right? And what is the nature of emotion? It's caring. It's very caring, very peaceful. Because the child, when she holds it in her arms and puts to her chest, baby feels, this is where I wanted to be. So can we do the same thing with each other? Like with you and with Bobby or with Mrityunjaya, Veena, and all these people sitting here. Can I not do that? Yes, I can do that because it's the same chemical nature. It's the best warmth you can give. And hence it's called warmth because you have no hidden thing. That means you're not threatening. Non-threatening is parasympathetic nervous system. So you are closing the sympathetic nervous system, which creates cortisol because fight and flight response versus rest and digest. That's chemistry. Just the emotion is chemistry. Nero, the entire emotions, good emotion, bad emotion, ugly emotion, loving emotion, hating emotions, is pure chemistry. There's not even one thing without having chemistry in it. Entire chemical combination. You can prove it. Like crying has a chemical, and the chemical means it should have some chemistry along with it. What triggers it? What triggers tears in your eyes? So the sound triggers, let's say, tears. Somebody talks harsh, that triggers tears. Now, the sound per se cannot trigger tears unless there is a chemical combination with which the tears gets formed, right? The tears should get formed. It just cannot happen because there's no chemical. So there should be some chemical transaction in the body which then tells the brain that now it's time or to trigger tears, and the water starts flowing from the eyes. So it has to fill up. That means water from somewhere has to be filled up in this reservoir of the eye, and then the brain has to push the water, and that we name it as tears. Like in Australia, Mrityunjay was crying, but he was crying out of joy. He was not crying out of the negative emotion, but he was crying out of positive emotion. He's crying and crying and crying, and we are also happy him crying. Is that can a person be happy crying? Yes, he can. We can be happy crying because he got something. That means we also are chemically knowing that it is not out of sadness. So this is chemistry. Anyway, we can take total chemistry, including, I don't know how far are you good with the periodic tables?
To some extent.
To some extent. Then you should know how to add between hydrogen, helium, lithium, beryllium, boron, carbon, nitrogen, fluorine, argon, like that. You should know what are these, and what brings these two together to form this, and with what, how many molecules of this will give this, and how much of, like if you take H2O, 2 atoms of hydrogen and 1 atom of oxygen makes that water, but how many molecules, what is the molecular density of that? Like that. So it will be more interesting for sure, but for those people who have no chemistry background, they would sleep. Maybe I'll put them to lullaby, go to sleep. So better I and you can speak. When I'm in US, we can talk a lot on this, but otherwise I have no problem in explaining from chemistry point of view. If you look from chemistry, anatta is like this because it's anatta anyway, no self in chemistry. So if I say Vilas, it is a combination of physics, chemistry, biology, and mathematics. That's it. Over. So you can call it a STEM: science, technology, engineering, and medicine. So, Neeru, one question to you. What do you think is my basic qualification?
Oh,
I mean, what do you guess? What do you guess?
Oh, very difficult because you cover like all the subjects from everywhere. I don't know. My understanding is because I think I know you are an engineer, and then you know everything from like medical field, psychotherapy field. I don't know, honestly. I can't guess.
Okay, and if I tell you I'm not even from engineering, what will you do?
I, I mean, like, my understanding is that your mind is so open. Those numbers were like are unbelievable, 98%, and all of those numbers that your brain actually showed to those people. So I think for you, you read something and it's so easy for you to memorize. So that's not a case of any normal, even an intelligent human being. At least, absolutely not for me. It took me a long time to memorize things. Yeah, so I don't think like you are a person who can be bound in like education wise, like going to a university and taking education. So that's my understanding. You read
Yeah,
something, you know.
you're
Yeah.
right. I am from accounting background into software world and into hardware and into everything. So my basic qualification is different, and what I really do is entirely different.
Yes, and maybe some at some other time. I am curious about from where you learned Pali.
I have not
I
learned. That Bobby himself will reply to you. You don't have to ask me.
But I mean, like you know, as if you know Pali language. It's
Yeah,
not.
that's what I'm telling you. Because of I need to appreciate Goenkaji for that. If he had not done the mistake, I wouldn't have known I know Pali.
Anyway, Neeraj, you're very lucky to meet a special person, So, yeah, I think he just comes, I don't know from where. He started reading Pali, I think, he started understanding everything.
See, you know what happened in the Satipatthana, not the course, in the one of the video Satipatthana, our friend Goenkaji, my teacher, was explaining Kaya Kaya Anupassi Viharati and some way of saying that. And then I'm wondering, this cannot be like this. There are two Kayas and two Vedana, two Chitta and two Dhamma. I'm a mathematical person. I want logic. I don't want just, some recitation. I don't like that. I need a proof why it is like this. And he said, body in body. First of all, body is a collection. A collection within a collection means sets. If it is a set, it has to take a particular way. So it has to have a Venn diagram then, if you're talking about sets. So then I went into mathematics. Then I used surds. And I did a simultaneous equation and calculus and all that. It'll go in my mind now. And if you keep on telling me this, then I would go into calculus and differentiation and integration. Then I go into basic geometry, then trigonometry. So it just starts coming. I was finding it tough to accept to what my teacher was saying. Then I thought, why don't I read Pali myself? So I took the VRI site and I downloaded Masatipatthana Sutta. I forgot all about this right hand side, which talks about the translation. I looked at the left hand side, which was having Pali. I thought, let me check. Evam me sutam, ekam samayam bhagava, like that. And I went to that parimukam upattapetvas. Interesting. Parimukha. Pari means front. Mukha means face. What is Goenkaji saying? Okay. Now let me give even more like that. Then each one of them, and then kaya anupassi viharati. Viharati is to stay. It's simple. Vihara is to stay, a place to stay. kaye kaya anupassi. You follow. Anu means to follow, to go with and stay. How do you stay? That was my question. How do you stay? In kaya, within kaya, how do you stay? That's what he's saying. Body in body. How do you stay? That's my question. With what? Atapi sampajano satima vineya loke abhijjato manasan. I need an explanation for this because that's how you stay. That's the answer to it. How do you stay? You stay by atapi sampajano satima vineya loke abhijjato manasan. I was wondering, this is not the right answer. This is not at all a right explanation. So I thought my teacher might have just said it, maybe. But I heard it again and again and again. I found then Vedana, he spoiled it completely. Chitta was even more worse than what I thought. Dhamma, he said phenomena. Then I thought, boss, thank you, my dear teacher. It's time to leave you and to look at Pali myself. And then started looking at it. Let me learn. So the first sutta I took was Anatta Lakkana Sutta, 22.59 in Sayukta Nikaya. Then I went to 22.95, which is Pena Pindupama Sutta. To understand this, I went there because Upama means example. I thought, let me read all the example suttas. Very easy, the example. I got it. I said, wow, this is exactly what I want. And that's how it started. So that was back in 2014.
Yeah, indeed, we are very lucky having you, Vilasji.
No problem. I'm also feeling very lucky to have everyone I can share. It's nice. Let's see. So I started incorporating the science curriculum because that's how it should be. It should be logical. Everything in Buddha Dhamma is logical. It is not something you just take it. No, there's nothing you have to take it. You have to experiment and see it. I love Buddha Dhamma because it allows investigation, allows experimentation. You experiment with your mind and see what's happening and accept to what is coming and then do it better. Try to see, can I make it better? Can I make it better? Can I make it better? Then you push your neurochemicals also in a nice way. Okay, so I think it's already 10:30, which is more than what we can chew, and others will sleep off. So we'll take neuroscience later, more neuroscience later. Presently, I think this much is sufficient for people to understand. These are the neurochemicals, and this is what is there in Buddha. So tomorrow we will see, not tomorrow, meaning Monday, we'll see the Vedana, Sanya, Sankhara, and Vijnana, how that affects your neurochemicals and you really understand. Okay, good day and good night, and catch you again. Bye-bye.